So now I want to switch off for just a minute and talk to you guys about this first project. We throw subtraction at you as the first sort of topic that we're going to study and design because subtraction has become essentially kind of relegated to the side by our modern world. If you think back to when, Michelangelo was sculpting figures from stone, right? You would have found that process was completely subtractive. They took a big block of stone, they set it down, and he starts chipping away at it to create these figures, right? But as we've moved forward through the Industrial Revolution into our current age, the information age, right, the age of computers, everything became mass-produced and modularized. So if by some chance I had thrown you guys this project and said, I want you guys to make something, anything, just make something that's cool and artistic, right? Very few of you would have grabbed a block of foam and started removing from it. What most of you would have done is you would have gotten a bunch of pieces and you would have assembled those pieces into an assemblage. And that's just the modern way of thinking. Everything is made of parts. Okay? And so the desire in this class is to challenge that notion and say, okay, well, there's other things going on. Subtraction is just one of those. And so this first project deals with a couple of different forms of subtraction. One form of subtraction we will refer to as surface subtraction. Surface subtraction is only skin deep. Whatever the thickness of the skin of your box is, that's how much is going to be cut away. All right? A second type of subtraction that we'll be dealing with also today is called spatial subtraction. Not special, right, as in special ed, but spatial, as in something dealing with volume and space. Spatial subtraction will look very, very different, distinctly different than surface subtraction. Surface subtraction kind of looks like window cuts on the surface of the box. Spatial subtraction actually indents the box. One of the things that you can ask yourself is if you're trying to figure out what kind of subtraction it is, does it substantially reduce the volume of the box? If it does, it's spatial subtraction. If it doesn't, if it's just on the surface, it's purely surface subtraction. Okay? Now there are more than those two forms of subtraction, but in Design 1, we have to kind of put things into kind of neat little crates. Okay? The reality is that design is messy, right? The crates all break and everything mixes together eventually. But in order to learn it, you've got to learn it a little bit at a time, right? Pieces have to be kind of organized so that you can understand them. So that's what we're going to do with this, is we're going to study two forms of subtraction, surface and spatial subtraction. Okay? All right, how are we at? How are we doing there, Mitchell?
We are at 3 minutes, 35 seconds.
All right. I think I want to keep talking for just a moment. All right, I'm going to point this thing up here. All right. Does it see this screen up here?
A little higher, a little higher.
A little higher? All right. Go up a little more.
You want the whiteboard, correct?
Yeah.
Well, higher, higher. Now you're good. Stop.
Okay. So surface subtraction removes just the surface. Spatial subtraction digs into the volume. All right. One of the things that you have to be careful of with subtraction is that at some point, if you subtract too much out of an object, right, it no longer expresses subtraction. So for example, you probably are all carrying one of the products that probably looks something like this. I think I'm butchering it. Stephen Jobs is probably rolling over in his grave right now. But some of you guys have an Apple product, right? Yeah? Okay. So the Apple product, their logo is an apple with a bite taken out of it, right? Okay. And can you tell that that's an apple? And can you tell it's an apple that's been subtracted from? Okay. Now what happens if I get really hungry and I come in here and I chomp into that apple, and I throw away the leaf because I don't need the leaf anymore. Can you see the apple? You can see the apple? Because I can't. All I see is an apple core. You don't see the apple anymore, right? So you do not see the subtraction. When it was one bite, you could say, yeah, that's an apple that's been subtracted from. Now you look at it and, you know, I don't know, this could be a demon or something. I don't know, a monster. A body. Who knows? It could be any number of different things, right? You still look like an apple core, bro? All right. I rest my case. So you have to be careful when trying to express the idea of subtraction, right? That you don't remove too much and create a new object. A different way to look at it is, here's a cube, right? If I, oops, sorry, scooch on that one, there's that. If I take one corner of that cube out like this, you can still tell it's a cube, right? It's got a corner missing. Yes? But if I sequentially go through and do that to all of the corners, you will no longer see a cube. You're going to see something that looks sort of like a gem or a diamond. If you know how many sides it has, you're probably doing better than I am. It's some sort of a hedron. All right? So no longer looks like a cube, right? You no longer can see that it's been subtracted from. It could have been originated in that fashion. Part of what we're trying to get you guys to understand with subtraction is that it is a procedural method of design. Okay? And we'll talk more about the way that here at Mount SAC we kind of we create these nice little containers and we say, all right, these are the types of ideas. We'll talk about that later. Right now, I just want you guys to understand that this project is about expressing the idea of subtraction. And so you have to be careful not to remove too much when you're doing this. All right, Mitchell.